Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're stepping into a completely wild, high-stakes survival scenario drawn straight out of the ancient legal codes found in Numbers 35.
Imagine for a second you've just dropped a heavy stone, and tragically it hits and kills someone you didn't even see. It was a complete accident. You had absolutely no intention of hurting anyone. But now the victim's grieving family is actively hunting you down for retribution. Where on earth do you run? Well, that brings us to our first section, the cities of refuge, a sanctuary for the manslayer. To figure out how you survive this, we've got to look at this incredibly fascinating system of asylum the Israelites set up when they first entered Canaan. According to the text, the Israelites were actually commanded to designate 48 specific cities for the Levites. And these weren't just the cities themselves. They included carefully measured suburbs all around them for their cattle, their goods, all their livestock.
But here is the real kicker. Out of those 48 cities, exactly 6 of them were set apart for a highly specific, literally life-saving purpose. They were legally designated as cities of refuge.
These 6 safe zones were strategically scattered all across the territory, 3 on one side of the Jordan River and 3 over in the land of Canaan. And the best part? They were universally open. We're talking Israelites, strangers, sojourners, anyone who accidentally killed a person or did it at unawares could desperately flee there to save their own life.
Moving on to Section 2, let's look at murder versus manslaughter and the core legal distinction here. This ancient text gives us a brilliant look at the stark contrast between a cold-blooded crime and a tragic accident. It all boils down to one absolutely crucial thing: intent. Think about it. If you struck someone with an iron weapon, or you did it out of pure hatred, or you were lying in wait, boom, you were deemed a murderer. But if it was a sudden thing, like that unseen stone we just talked about with no previous enmity, legally you were classified as a manslayer. And this distinction, it was quite literally a matter of life and death. You see, an intentional murderer was to be surely put to death by this terrifying figure known as the Revenger of Blood. This was a family member of the victim who was legally permitted to slay the guilty person the absolute second their paths crossed. Okay, Section 3, Trial and the Exile. Let's say you are that accidental manslayer. How exactly do you navigate this terrifying pursuit and actually prove your innocence? Well, here is your path to survival. First, you have to literally outrun the Revenger to one of those cities of refuge. Once you're inside, you stand trial before the congregation. If they rule it was an accident, phew, you are delivered from the Revenger. But you aren't exactly free. You have to remain exiled, safely tucked inside the city's borders, until the current anointed high priest dies. And I cannot stress this enough. This asylum came with incredibly strict terms. If you got restless and wandered outside the borders of your refuge city, even for a second before that high priest died, the Revenger of Blood could legally track you down and kill you, totally guilt-free. So, the life of the high priest essentially acted as a ticking clock for your exile. It was only after he passed away that you were finally legally permitted to pack up and safely return home to the land of your possession. That brings us to our final section, Blood Defiles the Land, focusing on the ancient logic of justice. We really have to step back here and ask, why was this system of justice so rigid, so incredibly absolute?
The rules were entirely uncompromising. For instance, the text explicitly mandates that the death penalty required the testimony of multiple witnesses. One person's word was never enough. Plus, it strictly forbade accepting any sort of financial ransom or payoff to spare a murderer's life, or even to let a manslayer leave their city of refuge early. You literally could not buy your way out of this.
And it all stems from this profound, deep-seated ancient belief. To them, unpunished bloodshed literally polluted and defiled the land where the Lord dwelt. In their worldview, that land could only be cleansed by strict, unyielding justice. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you pondering this one thought. When we look back at these ancient cities of refuge with their super careful parsing of intent and strictly protected safe zones, aren't we as human societies still trying to balance that exact same primal urge for vengeance with the desperate need for fair, objective justice today?